Hello, everybody. For those of you who maybe haven't seen one of my videos before, I'm on my way to becoming a CrossFit Level 3 trainer, and along the way, I am reading 52 books this year. That's the goal, at least. So it's the 52 book challenge. Your goal is to read one book a week on average for an entire year. And by the end, you've done 52 books, and hopefully you've learned a little bit along the way. So I'm going to be sharing the books that I've read or am reading as I go throughout the year and leaving a review a little bit. So this is the third book that I read. It's called How to Win Friends and Influence People. This one's been around for a long time. This little blue circle there says that it's been in print for 80 years. So these methods and principles have been around for quite a long time. So starts off, there's a couple different sections to it, but it starts off with how to handle people. So these are some big overall, all of these ones here are the big overall themes of the book. Everything kind of ties into them. So yeah, I'll get right into it. So the first section that he talked about was 6 ways to make people like you. This is going to be super important for, all of these principles are really important for anybody, really. Just basically not to be a jerk and to come across as a good person. And the better person you are, and the more you can show interest in other people, and the more that you're truly genuine about it, the more opportunities you're going to have. Like nobody wants to work with that jerk who's just pushy and only talks about themselves and all that sort of stuff. So if you're that person that is doing these 6 principles, like taking interest in other people, you're smiling, you remember other people's names, you actually listen to people and you want them to talk about themselves, you talk in terms of the other person's interests, and you make people feel important, and you do it in a sincere way and you're not faking it. This in and of itself, this book, if you apply these principles, is going to open up so many doors for you. Like I said, I'm pursuing a CrossFit Level 3, so I kind of look at these books a little bit more from a coaching standpoint and think about it as the coach-client relationship a little bit. So I try to do these things as much as I can. I'm not saying I'm perfect, but this is what, as a coach, you would need to try to apply every single day. Whenever they come in, it's all about the other person, right? So as a coach, I'm trying to engage and talk about them. They sometimes ask me questions back, but the biggest thing is I try to talk about them and get them talking about what they want to talk about. And quite often that's talking about themselves or what their interests are. That's what people want to talk about. The second one is huge as well. So smiling, just having a welcoming presence, smiling more often to strangers or even just people you meet on every day. If you never smile at someone, or someone walks into your business or your gym, for example, at our gym, if people aren't greeted with a smile and greeted by name, we haven't done our job as coaches walking in the door. It's just those tiny little things that can make a huge, huge difference. And then being a good listener, like I said before, is more than just about like sitting there and nodding your head. I don't know if you guys seen The Office where Dwight just nods like that or whatever, because he's supposed to be good at or practicing listening to women. But that's another topic. But that show's so funny. But being a good listener means that you are paying attention, of course, and taking in the information, but you need to show that you were actually listening as well. So if they're telling you something from somewhere deep inside, like a deep feeling, like try to reiterate that in your own words back to them. If they tell you something, you'd be like, okay, so this is what I'm hearing, or this is how I'm understanding it. And then you relay that back to them and they'll be like, yes, exactly. And then, right, now you're on good terms and they know that you understand them. So that's the first one there, the first main section. Second section was how to win people to your way of thinking. So this one is going to be super important again for businesses or coaches or basically whatever. If you ever are trying to, it sounds a little bit deceitful, but you're trying to, if you know that something is going to be good for somebody else, if you truly know that your way of thinking or your way of doing things has worked in the past before, it's worked for you, you know that it's going to benefit them, then you might want to try to use these strategies. You're not trying to use these strategies to, like I said, deceive someone into just like for your own benefit. So these ones are, yeah, think about the greater good and like be the bigger person, I guess, and be realistic with it as well. So this one at the start is huge to me. A lot of people, they get into arguments and they actually probably agree on quite a few things. They might just disagree on one thing and they choose to argue about that one specific thing. Um, so the best way to avoid an argument, or the best way to get the best of an argument, is just to avoid it. You can't win an argument. What he's meaning by that is if you ever get to a point where you are arguing with someone and you're just going head to head, whoever ends up winning the argument or being right is maybe going to feel good about themselves, but that other person that you were arguing against is not going to resent you because you just wouldn't back down and you prove that you're right, and then they're kind of walk away grumpy. And if you're wrong, then you feel bad. So there's no real way of winning. You either like kind of put a break in the relationship, or you feel bad about yourself. So if another way to avoid an argument is to respect that other person's opinion. That's point number 2 here. So this is an argumentative phrase, right? Saying you're wrong. That immediately starts an argument. So if you can respect their opinion, be like, yeah, I can see how you think that way. Of course, I think this other way, or something along those lines. That'll keep you from arguing. This one again is another one. If you are proven to be wrong, just admit it. There's nothing wrong with being wrong. Just admit it, and then you kind of help that argument. If you're constantly defending something, that's again where arguments can stem from, and that's how they come. Begin in a friendly way. That one's another big one for avoiding arguments. They kind of all tie back to the first principle, these first few anyway. This next one is kind of to get them to be on like the yes train, I guess. So if you ask them questions in a way where it's like, so as a coach, you'd be like, well, do you want to lose weight? Well, yes. Okay. So do you want to be more active and have more energy? Yes. Like you get them buying into your way of thinking and the things that maybe you're going to do, and then they're more likely to follow along. Again, this reverts back to the first one. Let the other person do a great deal of the talking, so kind of let them lead to their own decisions, sort of thing, which is again tied into this one now. So let them feel like it's their idea. So what we would mean by that is, let's say you want somebody to start eating a little bit healthier. So instead of telling them exactly what to do, you maybe ask questions like, okay, so you've already told me that you want to be healthier and you want to eat more vegetables, maybe. Instead of telling them exactly what to eat and when to eat it, maybe you tell them, okay, or ask them, what is a way that you could start getting a couple more vegetables into your diet? And then they start to think about it, and they lead, or that thinking leads them to their own conclusions versus you telling them exactly what to do, which is super powerful because then they feel like it's their decision, they feel empowered. Try and see things from the other person's point of view. That's kind of along with showing respect for their point of view. Trying to put yourself in their shoes. Be sympathetic with the person's ideas and desires. Sorry, I should say desires. Appeal to a nobler motive. So this is something that's like you want to like have them try to shoot for a higher standard, or know that they're capable of a higher standard, and then they will live up to it. So if you know that they can work out 3 times a week and they've only been working out once at the most, then you'll be like, I know you're capable of doing this, you've done it before. And then they kind of are pushed a little bit to do that. That can kind of tie into throwing down a challenge as well. Just saying, I challenge you to do this 3 times a week, or whatever the situation may be. And then another one that can be really good is dramatizing your ideas. So some people are more visual learners. They don't necessarily, they can't see it in their head or visualize it as well. So they need to actually physically see what your ideas mean and what they look like. And then the last section is again how to change people, or I guess win them to your way of thinking, kind of thing, is again, but without arousing resentment. So these kind of tie back to the last slide that we just went over. But beginning with honest praise is huge. So again, don't fake it. call attention to their mistakes indirectly or talk about your own mistakes before criticizing them. So this one is like, if they think they messed up super big and they had beer and pizza over the weekend, you're like, yes, no problem. Like I've done that too. Beer and pizza over the weekend there's nothing wrong with it. You enjoy it and you move on, sort of thing. So you don't criticize them. You kind of build that relationship saying like, yep, it happens to everybody, kind of thing. Um, Again, this is kind of tied to make them think like it's their idea. So you ask questions to make them think it's their idea instead of giving the direct orders. So that ties in there. So if the other person's wrong or if they've done something, give them the first opportunity to fess up. Don't like call them out on it. This one's huge for coaches as well. Praise the slightest improvement and praise every improvement. So if you are the person who is just constantly, as a coach, let's say that's just the world I'm coming from, if you constantly just tell them what they're doing wrong, how they need to fix it, and you're just harping on them the whole time, not you're doing it from a point of like you want to help them improve, of course. I'm thinking of movement. So if someone's squatting and you're like, okay, I need you to keep your heels down. I need you to keep your knees out. All right. I need you to keep your chest up tall. I need you to stop shifting onto your toes. Like if you're just constantly nagging on them, then they're going to resent you. They're not going to like you as much. So, but instead, maybe you acknowledge that they did sit back on their heels. You say, nice job sitting back on your heels. Like, way to keep your chest up, whatever it is. You acknowledge that and you praise that every time they do it, and they're more likely to repeat that behavior. Give someone a fine reputation to live up to. That's kind of like that appealing to nobler motives as well. So along those lines, it's kind of the same thing. Use encouragement and make the fault seem easy to correct. So again, using encouragement is always good, staying positive, and then making it seem easy means like, oh, you're squatting into your toes. Oh, I just need you to send those hips back, sit back on those heels a little bit more. You're good to go. So you kind of just shrug it off, play it off a little bit easy. And yeah, then you won't arouse any resentment there or give any offense because it's a simple fix. And then last thing, try to make the person happy about doing the thing that you suggest. So when that kind of comes back to being positive and giving encouragement as well. So if you're happy about the change or the progress that they're making, they are much more likely to be happy about it as well. So you got to be super stoked about them. You got to stay super positive, and that's going to help people change without them resenting you or not liking you. So if you would like to learn more about this book, that's the quick overview of it. I'm going to put the link below just to Amazon link. You could probably also listen to it on Audible. I actually got the physical copy of this one and read this one. But I did listen to the shortened version on Blinkist first. So if you want to do that, that's a place that I normally go to and listen to the shortened condensed version. And then we'll go buy the book or listen to the longer version if I think that it's worth it. And this one was definitely worth it. So go check those links out. And if you have any questions, you can ask me or follow me on Instagram or Facebook or TikTok now. If you have any questions, you can direct message me through those. Have a great day, team.